Good evening and welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. As we focus on the heart of the country, at every heart of each nation is its people. But when you look at the recent circumstances that are happening during this campaign and electoral season, it seems like 2021 or even worse. When we look at the last few days, it is unjustified, especially what has been meted on some of the candidates that are running around to make sure the people hear their voices. The incidents in Gulu, the incidents in Fort Portal, and we ask ourselves, is this going to be a free, fair, and credible election? And at what cost will it be to a Ugandan himself or herself? Let's get to the discussion with my panel that is in the studio, even as we get to it. On my immediate left, Dr. Sarah Birete, the Executive Director for the Center for Constitutional Governance. She's with us this evening. Good evening, Doctor. How are you?
Good evening, Timothy, panelists and viewers. I'm good and glad to be on this show tonight.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next to him, the man that is on the seat that is ensuring whether the country takes the right trajectory or we see the slope of where we're going. The spokesperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, Julius Muchunguzi, is with us this evening. Good evening, Julius, and it's good to have you.
Good evening, Timothy, panelists and viewers. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Next to Julius is Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma, a researcher, a political analyst. She is with us this evening. Good evening, Yusuf, and it's good to have you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Next to Yusuf is Honorable Dr. Mike Mukula, the chairperson of the African Movement, Pan-African Movement chapter in Uganda. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, and it's a pleasure being with the galaxy of these distinguished Ugandans.
And our prayers, especially for your wife and your son, how are they doing?
Well, I think God has been great, God has been good, and I would like to thank everybody for the prayers and the messages of goodwill. They are stabilizing, but my wife is traumatized, and it will take time, but I'd like to thank God for her life.
Thank you very much. Lastly but not least, the Honorable Minister in charge of National Guidance, State Minister in charge of National Guidance and ICT, the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga. Good evening, sir. It's good to have you.
Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be back here to guide the people, and more especially to come and guide Sarah properly.
Why are you picking out Dr. Sarah of everyone that is here?
She's my friend.
Okay. So you can be part of the show. Get to our WhatsApp number 0709 60 25 92 for text or WhatsApp, or go to our YouTube channel, drop your comment there. On our X platform, we'll be streaming live on that space, hashtag UBC Behind the Headlines. Let's get into it. And Julius, I'll start with you, and you'll forgive me that there will be no gloves as we have this conversation. Are you still in charge of this election?
Without any doubt, the Electoral Commission is in charge of this electoral process. And should I say that from where we sit, we are on a good course. And why do I say so?
Are you seeing it through the same lenses that Ugandans are seeing it?
Why do I say so?
Okay.
I say so because, you see, where we are today is a series of processes on the roadmap that Ugandans have successfully undertaken to get us to where we are. Remember that the period we are in of campaigns started with the first steps on the roadmap, which were, one, demarcation of electoral areas that were successfully done with the participation of Ugandans. We organized polling stations, and they were successfully done with cooperation of all Ugandans. We moved from there and mapped all persons with disabilities across the country to know what their disabilities are, to understand what their issues are, and to see how best we can make sure that the electoral process is as inclusive as possible. That was done successfully. We moved on and updated the National Voters Register. Those Ugandans that have never registered as voters did register to be voters. Ugandans who had been registered by NIRA and were not yet 18, turned 18, were allocated polling stations. Ugandans that wanted to change their polling locations applied, and they changed their polling locations. We have a voters register today. We moved on and went into elections of special interest groups. All the committees for special interest groups and the electoral colleges for youth, older persons, persons with disabilities, workers, were all successfully conducted and undertaken. We went into nominations. We opened the floodgates of nominations for local government level, and they were successfully done. Ugandans participated in big numbers. We opened the nominations for presidential aspirants. To over 200 Ugandans came out and said, we think we can drive this country. And they aspired. At the end of the day, the process brought 8, and they are already out there campaigning. The nominations were successfully undertaken. The Electoral Commission nominated over 83,000 candidates from local councillors, councillors at sub-county level, to president, contesting for 45,000 elective positions. And now we are in campaigns. They started very well, as you know, on 29th of September, and then on 10th of September, 10th of November, all of them were flagged off, from members of parliament to those at local government level, and generally across the country, out of the 83,000 nominated candidates, contesting for 45,000 contested electoral areas across 146 districts, you can safely say, without any fear of contradiction, that the majority, to a greater extent, campaigns are going on peacefully. The first 7 weeks also were very peaceful at presidential level. But obviously, in the past few weeks, we've seen incidents that have not been pleasant to anybody.
What have you done about these incidents?
Those incidents have happened. They have been condemned by everybody who sees them and says, this is not the kind of election we want to see. This is not a culmination of a process that started so well. We are carrying the pot. We are entering the doorstep. And some circumstances, actions, acts of individuals, collective of individuals, want us to break the pot when we already have the water in our hands. And Ugandans cannot afford to allow the pot or the pregnancy, the expectancy that Ugandans have had to prepare to elect their leaders for the next 5 years to be sacrificed at the altar of violence, at the altar of misconduct, at the altar of failure to observe electoral laws. We know, without any fear of contradiction, that we are capable as a people to say we want a free, fair, transparent, and peaceful election, and we can have it. Because we have shown in the first weeks of the campaigns that we could do it. If we could do it in those first weeks, why can't we address the root causes of these incidents that we've seen and find solutions collectively to address them? And it is for that reason that the Electoral Commission has a mechanism in place. One, of convening all the agents of the presidential candidates at given intervals, together with police, which is mandated to ensure compliance with electoral laws and ensure law and order and peace. To say, where are we? How far have we gone? What are the emerging issues? What do we need to do to make sure that the success points are amplified and the areas where we have issues are addressed?
Let me ask, you say, this will be my last question before I come to Dr. Sarah. You say you have condemned. Is that all you can do? What more can you do?
No. You see, the Commission has said consistently that a free, fair, transparent, peaceful electoral process or election is a responsibility not just of the Electoral Commission alone. The Electoral Commission is the driver, but we have actors, we have candidates, we have their agents, we have their supporters, we have police, we have civil society, we have the media, all actors in the electoral process. When we condemn, we also guide and say, these are the guidelines, we provide them. We expect that the actors will act in accordance with the law.
When do you whip?
We whip. You see, along the electoral process.
Julius, when you talk about their actors, their candidates, their people, you're negating your role. Your roles are organizing and conducting an election.
Yes.
Supervise the election.
Yes.
You are failing to supervise this election.
We are not, the commission is not failing to supervise these elections. The Electoral Commission is, in fact, as a matter of fact, is taking the lead, taking charge, guiding the people that are in this electoral process. Because look, the reason why I gave you a succession of the activities that lead up to where we are is to show you that why is it that in the successive steps building up to elections, because you see, an election is not an event, it's a series of events culminating to where we are now. Why is it that in those first activities we didn't see violence?
And I'm going to come to those activities later on, because I'll ask you questions in that area.
Yes.
Please allow me to come to Dr. Sarah. I'll come back to you. Doctor, when you look at Gulu, Fort Portal yesterday, these running battles, and you look at the first 3 weeks where it was calm, where did this tide change? How did we get here?
Well, first of all, the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission says they are happy and they are in charge and they are on course. So the opening remark for me, in my view, could take away the little trust from the people. Because when you look at events, the raid in Irira, the hotel where candidate Shaguranyi was with his supporters raided, the raid in Imbarara, the blockage in Elegu, including failed campaigns that the Electoral Commission, I had hoped would regret. Because this is a schedule agreed upon before Electoral Commission. The events in Gulu, extremely embarrassing. The events in Fort Portal, immediately after Gulu. The failure to campaign in Fort Portal because of blockage of a highway by UPDF and police, beating up of a candidate, tearing his clothes. So when Electoral Commission says they are in charge and they are happy, is this part of the election they designed? Because they are fully in charge. Whoever works on an electoral process should work under the supervision of Electoral Commission. So if they are happy, is this the campaign they intended? Is this the electoral process they designed?
What happiness are you talking about?
No, I'm saying you say the opening remark. You said you are happy, you are on course, and everything is progressing well.
I said we cannot afford to break the pot. Breaking pots is a sign of happiness. I should have concluded by saying that the incidents that we've seen that are ugly to everybody that have seen them are unfortunate, regrettable, and preventable. It cannot be that anybody can be happy when
can I have my time? Can I have my time? Because you will have you will have your time to rebut.
Let's have Dr. Sarah
This is a 2-hour show.
Okay.
You will have your time.
Yes.
So when you look at these events, and I want to read a letter written on 10th December 1980 with similar events in an electoral process by Jacob Asimwe, who was one of the leaders of UPM, writing to the Electoral Commission to express deep reservations over the unchecked irregularities in the ongoing elections and to caution that such elections they will be forced to resort to other means. Particularly, he pointed out arbitrary arrest of supporters. We have about 500 NUP supporters in jail. Violence by security forces against our supporters, Same thing happening. In Imbarara, 100 was raided up and charged in courts all over the country, and they are still being denied bail. Gerrymandering, it happened before elections. A biased electoral commission controlled by Milton Obote and Paulo Mwanga in favor of UPC. I don't know whether we can or we can't say the same today. Remove of our campaign posters and illegal interference with our candidate Museveni's rallies. Voter bribery with food and hose. Forewarned is forearmed. Sincerely, Jacob Asimwe. 10th, today is 10th December, the exact date when this letter was written in 1980. What has changed? You have major interference with NUP's rallies in 5 districts. Failure to campaign. I have not seen any statement from Electoral Commission which talks about failure of this candidate to campaign and whether there are measures to address that. If a candidate is scheduled 1 hour to campaign in Fort Portal on his schedule, he's blocked towards entry to the state. Until 7 p.m. when he was appearing on NTV News Live, he was still blocked from entering Fort Portal. I don't think I've heard anything from Electoral Commission regarding that event and what measures they are putting in place, using his narrative of saying they can't afford to break the pot. What measures were put in place? Guru, the barbaric conduct of UPDF, of police, of people in civilian clothes. What was that? What actions are being put in place? Today in Chenjojo, why is NUP escorted by police and army together? There is a deliberate misinterpretation of events where the army can come in to help the police. Article 209 of the Constitution is very clear, subsection 3, and that article is on the functions of the UPDF. It states that the UPDF can cooperate with civilian agencies in situations of disaster and emergency. I think it would be good to tell Ugandans whether elections conspires either disaster or emergency to get the UPDF involvement. Because the Constitution is very clear on the limitations of the UPDF. That article is supposed to be read together with Article 2012 on where the police can invite the UPDF. But the Constitution first limits UPDF on its functions, on a disaster and emergency. We see police taking over, keeping law and order during elections, usurping the functions of police. And everybody thinks it's normal. These are security matters. Everybody hides behind security matters, as if we are in a situation of war. Because seeing police the way it is conducting itself, you need, if we were under constitutional order, you need to first declare a state of emergency to have UPDF conducting itself the way it's doing. During 2021, people hid behind COVID, especially the Electoral Commission led by Justice Byabakama and their incompetencies. They used the excuse of COVID to say that whatever was happening was because of COVID regulations. Today we have no COVID, but the situation today, the election today could even be worse than 2021. So what excuse are they going to use? Are they going to reinvent COVID?
Okay, let me come to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Kabyanga, when you look at the incidents
that was a big jump.
I'll come back to you. So, the Honorable Minister, when you look at the incidents that are happening, you as national guidance, what are you doing?
First of all, these incidents that have happened are very unfortunate and very regrettable. We have been here on this panel several times since these elections started, and we all praised the security, we praised the Electoral Commission for calm elections. And it was our prayer, all of us, that they would continue like that. But just as the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission has said, campaigns is just probably it's just one component in an election process. The process is so wide, but campaigns is just one component. Two, there are so many players in election. Even when the Electoral Commission takes the lead, but there are so many other players. First of all, Electoral Commission doesn't own a police. It doesn't have its own police. They have to depend on other security agencies to provide security for that electoral process. And secondly, there are many players. The candidates themselves are in the process. The supporters are also part of the process. And Electoral Commission now plays the role of coordination, managing, and ensuring there is a free and fair election. But we, as stakeholders, we all need to cooperate, seriously cooperate. I've seen incidents which are really so bad, and the Electoral Commission has issued press releases condemning some of these acts, if really we have been following. But the whole issue is how did it begin? I think that's where the biggest problem is. I think when it all started, it was calm, and I believe somehow, somewhere, some people might not have been happy to have a calm election, mainly those people who didn't have content. So now the whole process has diverted from what are the candidates talking, what are they offering, to how are they being treated, and that is a bit of a diversion. It can be a strategy of a candidate. Then now I think let us see how we divert this campaign from idea-based campaign to probably how are candidates being treated. But when you look at,
let me just give you some context. I think it was the second or third week, and Honorable Chagulanyi was on the trail, to a point that he reached a rally and was speaking, and really had nothing to say, rather than point to the police and say, Banobatutia. Why do you fuel this? You're deflecting with police, the other players. We're asking for the person who is in charge of the election. And you're trying to bundle it up with everything. The police is not theirs. But you as a minister who superintends over national guidance, if a media house gets out of line, you will whip it back in line. So why are we failing to do this, to have a proper election like we did 3 weeks earlier?
Yes, I've told you the Electoral Commission is supposed to manage those elections, is supervising those elections, and they are doing their work. But there are so many other players. What about, are they managing the supporters of the candidates? Who are those moving with those candidates?
I wish the photos of the photo would be shown to you. There were 10 pickup trucks, police, 7 army trucks that escorted Honorable Chagulanyi from 3 a.m. to when he got to Fort Portal. What is the failure for EC to say, we said the police, why is the army there? Like Doctor said.
No.
Like
is it an emergency that we need
now, Timothy, from a layman's view, that's what you can say. But when police boosts security with the army, they must have done an assessment.
Of what?
A security risk. You know, the elections is something which can even compromise national security. Because those people who are moving, I saw a video where some supporters were just looting a shop. even after the candidates had left. Now, that one, how do you manage that?
That video you're talking about. I want to get
It's
into
AI.
it. But
You can't
and you are all, we are all looking at videos of what has happened.
You are
getting.
Let's speak of fact.
Now, why is that one? Why is that one AI? Why is
Yeah,
it
of
AI?
course the motion of the pictures shows.
Now,
whether everything is
I'm
real
just
or not.
telling you that I saw a video. For you now, you have analyzed it, you have said it is AI. You are getting. But me, I'm telling you, I saw a video where some supporters were looting a shop. And I'm telling you, it might be AI, it may not be AI. But I'm telling you now, there are so many other issues, security related, that the security organs assess and they say now, I think this is how we need to arrange our security and this is the manpower we need. They are not going to consult Sarah Birete. They are not going to consult Timothy. They are going to sit and assess that according to this situation now, this is the strength that we want. And that one will be done.
There's a law which guides the assessment.
You know, you are now talking of laws or whatever.
So you mean all this is done in a vacuum? There's a
No,
law. There's a law which
there
guides the assessment.
is nobody who is doing anything outside the law. If you think,
The law says if there is an emergency or a disaster, it's at that point that the UPDF
should be.
and how do you,
That's
how,
the
question.
who qualifies an emergency?
Yusuf,
Are you the one who qualifies an
Are you
emergency?
telling us
But
that? No, because people need to
gentlemen,
know.
You know, you guys.
Honorable Minister,
Hey.
you still have your time. The question is, let's narrow it to where we were.
And that's
the
why
scenes you saw in Gulu, the beating up of people, that's one. Two,
One dead.
there was just 2 cars by Honorable Chagulanyi. Did it necessitate 7 trucks and 10 pickups to follow just 2 cars?
so long as security has assessed
Is
that
that-
those
is
2
it-
cars, because even one person can cause disaster.
I have
It
a
can,
question on
even one
security,
person.
Honorable, if you allow me. If security assesses that a candidate is likely to be in trouble, isn't it then required of them to even advise on postponing that rally? Why do you have to beat up and kill people because there is a security assessment?
Now-
Why don't you inform electoral commission
Exactly.
to tell the candidates to stop
You know,
that
now you are
rally
asking
notice
so
another
many
day?
things. You are asking so many things at a go and confused. The whole issue is beating up people is wrong. You can even have 7 trucks of police and army and they don't beat anybody. You're getting me? You can even have 1 truck. Even you can have 2 policemen and they beat up what? People. And that is wrong. Completely. Completely. But what I'm trying to say is, sometimes we also need to assess how did it begin. Because sometimes we are looking at the beating, but we are not seeing how it started. It started. And I think that's where the problem is. But all in all, I don't think it is right to beat what? People who are going to listen to someone. I have read and I've seen the police making press statements and explaining the circumstances. And sometimes you sympathize with them because and they have even condemned some of these incidents. And investigations are going on. If we find out that there is anybody who meted any disastrous punishment on anyone, that one will be disciplined.
Okay.
And we should all, as citizens and as government, we are going to work closely with all stakeholders in these elections to see how this ends.
Lastly,
and it should end as soon as possible.
Honorable Minister, and I'm glad you've said you're condemning it, and if any actions, there will be repercussions.
Yes.
The acting director of information in the Ministry of Defense, Colonel Chris Magezi, yesterday justified the beating by saying, don't parents use corporal punishment on their kids. That was one. 2, he went on to say, if in the US they use batons, as we use sticks. What do you make of such? Already the EC was saying the languaging and all these things. But what do you make of someone who comes on air and makes such a statement and is a spokesperson of the army?
You know, it depends on the whole situation. By the way, even tear gas will be used depending on the what? On the situation. You know, if these supporters are coming to attack you, what do you do? What do you do?
You know you're telling lies.
You know?
You know you're making up things now. Because
Okay,
the cost is very
you
specific.
will be given time to tell me
Because
that.
I'm listening to you now.
You have to listen to me,
Yes.
because I will also listen to you.
Okay.
Eh?
Honorable Minister,
You don't want.
I
So
will
when you
protect
start speaking, I should close my
You're
ears.
listening.
No,
but
Yes, you
there's a
listen.
you're not answering the question.
You are not the
specifically.
moderator. The moderator is,
But I'm here,
is
I'm part of the
Timothy.
conversation.
Yes, you listen. Then
Honorable,
when it's
please,
your time,
continue.
you will come and reply.
Okay,
Eh,
respond.
You know, this is a very emotional topic.
Yes.
And I would like to tell you, my brother, nobody is happy to see another person bleeding,
To death.
to see another person being beaten. But we are saying, what has brought this? We have to look at what is the cause. So the candidates must also be in control of their own supporters. Otherwise, if you leave your supporters and instigate them, and you leave them to provoke the security personnel, then you be sure that security personnel might also react. And these are human beings. You can see even you here on a panel which is peaceful, you are trying to become emotional. What about the other one who has been provoked or sometimes even been slapped?
Okay.
Yeah?
Thank you, Honorable
You're
Minister.
getting me?
Let me come to Honorable Captain Mike Mukula. Honorable, you have been both a minister, been a member of parliament, moved on to now leading a chapter of the Pan-African, and also a member of the National Resistance Movement. When you look at these ugly scenes, what do they spell for the general elections come the 15th of January 2026? Do you get concerned?
Well, first of all, let's look at the whole general framework. Uganda has held several elections, and we've been able to produce leaders. And the African continent equally, when you look at the broad aspect. Elections or democracy in the African continent is alien means of governance that has been parachuted to the people. So it's going to be a learning curve all the time. Secondly, you will never have a perfect election anywhere in the world. You'll always have a free and fair election. And for Uganda, which is the third point I would like to make, nearly 80% of the population, our demographic figures show clearly that 80% of the population is below the age of 30, meaning that Uganda has a very young population, and this time nearly 4.5 to 5 million have entered into the electoral register. They are anxious, their perceptions and expectations are different. And I would like to say that it's very unfortunate that an election which had started with an excellent campaign process, for the first 3 weeks it was all conducive, it was well orchestrated. You could see that all candidates were respecting the guidelines as issued by Electoral Commission. The equation or the narrative changed somewhere along the way. That narrative in the 5 districts needs to be explained, and to me, when you look at the supervisor of this electoral process, which is the Uganda Independent Electoral Commission, each of the candidates, you have nearly 7 of them, I think.
There are 8.
There are 8. This is not happening to the other 7. It is happening to 1. Now the question is, under the Independent Electoral Commission, they have the means and capacity to call the agent or the agents of the other party, and that could be NUP, call the police or the security agencies and sit them into order and try to correct the narrative in order to have a free and fair election. To me, this learning curve now denotes or points at the Electoral Commission to say what needs to be done in order to cure this uncertainty so that you reinforce the confidence in the populace to see that this election come 2026, 15th of January, the electoral output or the results will be respected. That's the bottom line. In my view, electoral violence is not only premised or localized to Uganda. The entire continent, save for a few countries, have a few uncertainties or have had what you call fair elections. I think that there is need for the Independent Electoral Commission to go back to the drawing board and be hard on all the actors that are causing this uncertainty in order to ensure that our electoral process, now after 1996 when we have had first direct elections, this is now 2025 going to 2026. There is no reason at all for Uganda to have this uncertainty and turbulence. That's my view.
Just sticking with you, Captain, before I get to Yusuf, when you look at, and you say the 7 are okay, but when you look at your candidate, you look at the processions that were in Bara, army trucks taking on supporters, and then you look at the Honorable Chagulanyi in Chiruhura being beaten up there by supporters putting on yellow t-shirts. Then you look at gangs in Gulu. At what point does the law equate all of us and not be used selectively?
The army or the security agencies work on a pyramid structure. Communication, command, and control. That's the pyramid structure. All armies in the world work on that pyramid and premise their command structure to that. I think that this is where the Electoral Commission needs to come in. The body that is empowered to oversee, manage the elections in this country is the Uganda police. They may invite their agencies like the army, maybe prisons or any other. But it is not right, in my view, for us to evaluate these matters where we have institutions of gentlemen and ladies who are very well educated, well trained, and I think that the Electoral Commission has got very eminent people, and that's my emphasis is the Electoral Commission can call all the actors to order. They have the means to do that, and the law gives them the power.
And I'm glad you were here, because I remember watching a clip where they were talking about, I think he was Aziz Kasuja, by then he was the chairman of the Electoral Commission, who wrote to the president and told him to bring the army into order, or else he would call off the election.
Withdraw the army, or I call off elections.
So
it was as
really,
clear as that.
Where are we failing? Because at the end of the day, we do not want to become a disgruntled country and all these things that are happening.
I think there are overzealous actors who are trying to mar this election. Overzealous, mark my word, overzealous actors. And I think that we cannot allow such overzealous actors to mar and disrespect the provisions of the law, to mar and injure the Constitution. My view and sincere view is that General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the candidate, my candidate for the National Resistance Movement, will win this election. There's no doubt about it. But let's win in a very free and fair manner. And my view is that these overzealous actors who are trying to mar and the whole entire electoral process should be brought to order. In any way, they can be controlled and tamed.
Yusuf, let me come to you. I remember you were seated somewhere where Julius is, and you said this is a circus. But a circus is meant to be entertained. This is not entertained. What is this?
The accidents in a circus.
This is an accident? Looks like a very long accident.
No. So circuses take many forms. There are sections which are meant for entertainment. There's the humor section where you just enjoy yourselves. Then there's the sections for tragedy. So now we've transited from the entertainment to the tragic side. And there's certainly tears. So, but that's not a good way to start my comments. I wanted to say, I mean, from the foregoing conversation, I'm itching to respond from the foregoing conversation. And I just want to begin by saying that I think the Honorable Minister and the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission are not really the right people to answer these questions. They're fairly, maybe entirely powerless.
So who should answer the question?
And I really sympathize with them, you know, that they're here trying to respond to your very hard questions. And I think Julius has done wonderfully well. He said we condemn, these incidents are regrettable, but that's the much he can do. Because he's a worker, he's a cog in a rolling machine, right? He's just a worker, part of the rolling machine. And I think he will come back and apologize even more and condemn even more, because it's just the beginning. Julius, be ready to come back and condemn and regret and ask for part even more, because this is just the beginning. You know, Timothy, that we really expected this election to be violent. Rather, that we were so happy it wasn't violent in the first 3 weeks and we started celebrating, tells you that we knew it was going to be violent. It tells you we knew it was going to be violent. But true to all elections, they are not violent throughout the entire course. There are moments. And I remember many times I respond to this question, I said, let's wait for November. Maybe it's too early to celebrate. Let's wait for December, and let's wait for Jan when we go to the finishing line. It's going to become dangerous. When the candidates come to Uganda, the leading opposition candidate comes to Uganda, we wait and see what's going to happen. The entire 3 months can't be violent, but there are moments where you define this election, right? So Gulu defines the election, Mbara defines the election, Elegu, Fort Poto. These incidents start to define the election, right? One of the things that they will constantly say is that there are rogue elements. Captain Mukulahi has said it, this man, the minister, has said it. There are rogue elements. But look, these guys are carrying Nkoni, which look uniform from Mbara to Gulu to Fort Poto. Somebody got a contract to procure Nkoni. Somebody got a contract to supply Nkoni to this, because these are not sticks you randomly pick on the street. Which means the entire mental outlook of this election was that we're going to put them in line. And I can tell you as a scholar, violence is productive. We should say violence is not part of the political process, but who is using it? Timothy, I've said to you before that if you can't win an election free and fair after 20 years of standing, it never happens anywhere in the world, unless you're a monarch who doesn't stand. But after 20 years, the institutions, the goodwill, the social fabric upon which you rose 40 years ago would have changed significantly or radically. So I also sympathize with Mr. Museveni, that the only thing he has in his arsenal to win this election is sticks, money, guns, and soldiers. It's the only thing in his arsenal. You sympathize with him. So he recruits, and this election is also forced onto him, right? I really think that Museveni, if he had his way, he wouldn't go into this election. If he had his way. I think the man who hates this election most is Yoweri Museveni. He doesn't believe in it, he doesn't like it, but he has no way he can do it, because he has to borrow money in the name of Ugandans, and the only way you can borrow is you have to have the mandate. So he's forced to go into this thing called an election, because he has to borrow in our name. I told Julius here before the show that even his children at home, Yoweri Museveni's government borrowed 2.5 million in their name. Every Ugandan in this country, Yoweri Museveni, including your child, maybe 5 or 2, Yoweri Museveni borrowed money in their name at a tune of 2.5 million, every single Ugandan. But the only way the creditors can give him this money is after he says, I am borrowing it as a democratically elected candidate, president of the country. So this is why we're going to this election. So the thing that Museveni fears most is the electoral season, because the electoral season is a season of high political excitement. He doesn't know what these people might do in the election, in the electoral process, in the season. They're excitable. So he has to use violence, piecemeal, to control them. And I've said to you, Julius, Minister for National Guidance, if you have to be ready to appear on these shows many, many times as we head to January, because the only thing Museveni has in his pocket to win this election is violence. And I don't think he also likes it. I don't think Museveni likes the violence too. But he has nothing else he can offer to Ugandans. I don't think he likes it. It's important to him because you see, the kids who were 0 years when Museveni first became president are now 40. Who were 0 are now 40. They don't know how this man became president because for the first 10 years they saw a man that their parents loved, but they didn't know how this man became president. Now they began to understand the mess they've seen around them is unbelievable. I told you, Timothy, last time we were here, that our peers in the region in terms of cities, you know, we're discussing this, the people who are rich men fighting over drainage channels. Our peers in the region are Malawi, Juba, Burundi. Those are peers. So the young men who have grown up under Museveni, who are now 40 years of age, who were 0 when he first became president, are saying this man, they've gone to school, they've become educated. They don't understand why this man is stuck onto them for this entire time, when the country they so much love looks the way it is.
But Yusuf, let me put a question to you. Why this particular candidate? Why is this happening around you? But also, secondly, when you look at the running battles between security agencies and the people, the ones 450 that the NUP says have been arrested, what message is being translated by these people who keep coming here? What are they saying that is not being heard?
Why this particular candidate?
Why this particular candidate?
This
the 7 are
no, this election,
okay, the 6 are okay.
With all due respect to the other wonderful people standing, this election has 2 candidates. Maybe not even candidates. This election has 2 sides. Museveni protecting the gains and Museveni must go. It's a pity they're not using Museveni must go slogan, but they're using the protest vote slogan. But this election has 2 sides. And I'm telling you, the incumbent, too bad for him. And I think he sits back and says, why have I to go through this? The only thing he can offer to Ugandans to keep him in power is violence. He has nothing else to offer. Now, the only possibility of changing the status quo is the fluidity and the energy and the excitement that Bobi Wine offers this campaign, that Bobi Wine brings to this electoral season. Now, the major worry, and I'm telling you, Julius, we're at the beginning. When Bobi Wine starts intensely campaigning 50 kilometers away from the seat of government, 100 kilometers away from the seat of government, it's going. You said you have a pot you're carrying. That pot is going to explode. When the man starts circulating, this campaign circulating within 30 kilometers away from Parliament of Uganda, away from Nakasero, away from UBC, because you know what happens? You take over UBC, you've taken over the country. So away from his house, the state house, not his house, but the state house, Parliament, when he starts operating 100 kilometers, 50, 30, the violence is even get higher. What they are doing now is just making sure the possibility of these boys getting excited to pursue other things away from just looking for votes doesn't happen. So they are experimenting, preparing them. Now if you try to dream to do anything in Kampala, this is what we can do to you. So they're giving them a taste of what is going to come in far-flung areas, Mbara. And you said even the first weeks, by the time they reached, they didn't arrest all the 500 at one point. So the violence was at first structure before it became manifest. It was hidden, it was latent. Now it's all manifest. But they've been arresting NUP supporters from day one, way before. So Timothy has finished this point. Why this specific candidate is this candidate who can pull 10,000 supporters in one single go. It's this candidate who can pull hungry, angry young people, 10,000, 50,000 in one go. I've warned you, Timothy, and I'm sure all these people are aware. If that candidate came from Kawempe and said we are marching to Nakasero, and Museveni is put in a position where he has to shoot and kill 1,000, Museveni doesn't like that. It will look so ugly on his part. So he has to prepare them from far-flung places not to even dream of saying we abandon this thing called election entirely because it's a circus and we're just taking the presidency. Because Museveni has taken lessons from elsewhere. You know, as young people, in a fit of excitement, might stop, you know, pretending to be playing alongside the circus and say, let's just go take the presidency. It's not too far. It's 10 kilometers. You know, so that is the scare that Museveni is facing in his
also, that particular candidate has been to the center. He has been to Kawempe, he has been to Nakawa, and Nakawa was basically okay. Julius, let me come to you. How do you restore faith in the public that you are on top of it?
So, Yusuf talks about a circus. And it's very interesting because, you see, the elections that are organized, that have been organized since, let's say, 1995 when we had this constitution.
Are you even carried it?
I have it. Do you believe in the constitution?
Yeah, I do, but you carried it to the show. That's a surprise for me.
No,
He carries it everywhere.
because this is our anchor. The constitution, Article 1, sovereignty of the people. Clause 4, the people shall decide, choose the people that will lead them through regular, free, and fair elections. Article 59, the right to vote to those that are citizens, 18 years and above, registered as voters. The constitution that you believe in establishes an electoral commission, Article 60, with functions in Article 61. Here, you believe in the constitution, but the outcomes of the constitution, you want to call them a circus. I think you have to reconcile the two, because if you do believe in constitutionalism, you believe in this constitution that Ugandans deliberated on and agreed that this, going forward, a way of our history, going forward, this is the direction we're taking, that leadership shall be through regular, free, and fair elections. And the institution that we established, Ugandans established this electoral commission. The commission did not all of a sudden manifest itself out of nowhere. It is a creature of the law. It's a creature of the aspiration of Ugandans. And it was handed the mandate to organize, supervise elections. And it says, and we say, that in this organization of these elections, we can only succeed if the actors in the process agree to agreed rules and regulations. And I have often used the analogy of a football game, where you have a referee. We are referees of this process. The referee has at his disposal different tools. You know, he can give a free kick, he can give a yellow card, they can give a red card. But on the pitch, you have parties, you have teams, you have players. They know the rules. And then you have a team which has players who say, for us, if we miss the ball, we will not miss the bone. We will break the bone.
So which player is that who is breaking the
No.
ball?
First wait. You have supporters of these teams seated there in the Churasha, and they are mobilized to either hurl insults at players or to basically disorganize the game. You have players who, when a team is about to score, they carry the goalposts away and run away with them. Now,
is this hypothetical?
No. Now, you have a referee.
What is exactly?
So the point now, the referee is saying that all the actors in this game, the coaches, the managers, the linesmen, the players themselves, must accept to play by the rules they have agreed to. And before every element of the general election, guidelines are issued. All of them agreed to them. Before we began campaigns on 29th of September, candidates sent their representatives to the commission. At the nomination of each of these presidential candidates, Each of the nominated candidates was given a copy of the guidelines to follow
But
during
Julia,
campaigns.
If they fail,
Now,
you've said you're the referee.
now,
if they fail,
what do we do?
Are you only going to caution?
No, what do we do? What do we do? So at the arsenal, the toolkit of the Electoral Commission, we have several approaches. We have a mechanism of dialogue and discussion, because we believe all the candidates, their agents and support, they are Ugandans. We believe that there is a common denominator that all the parties involved in this electoral process agree to, that we want to make sure, and we hope that they do, that we want to make sure that we have a united country. We want a peaceful country. We want a progressive country. Elections are a mechanism of giving Ugandans an opportunity to choose the people that will manage the governance question. So, Yusuf now, and Timothy. So,
you mentioned you asked no unstopped dialogue.
So dialogue.
At what point does the red card and the yellow card come?
So at the different stages of the electoral process, the commission, you've seen the commission listening to petitions, hearing petitions, taking decisions, giving red cards, giving green cards, allowing people in, removing some, on the basis of evidence and the law. Now, where we are in the campaign process, there are these emerging ugly scenes that nobody is happy with. Talking is important. Statements are important. And indeed, I was surprised that Sarah said, my friend...
I haven't seen a statement on Fort Portal.
No, there was one on Gulu, before Spoto will be coming, but we've issued a statement on Gulu, we issued a statement in
my comment was on Fort Portal.
So the fact of the matter is that in the statement that the commission issued, which was really a very solid statement, I must say, that is clear on what every stakeholder, every actor needs to do. It called for investigations. It stated that a nominated candidate, a candidate nominated by the Electoral Commission, is free to traverse any part of the country to look for votes, so long as that person is following the law and the guidelines issued by the Electoral Commission. It calls for investigations, that those that are found culpable should be treated with the maximum extent of the law. Now, I don't know whether you want Julius and the team of the Electoral Commission, the staff, to go and stand to face the operating area where the candidates are with their supporters and say, don't do, because their institution, police has been mandated by the Constitution again to be the body, the institution responsible for ensuring law and order, compliance with electoral laws. And it is for that reason that you saw that every nominated candidate, before they left the premises of the commission in Rubawa, was handed a security detail. Because once this is a presidential candidate, they are special. They are a few steps away from commander-in-chief. We cannot allow anything to happen to them.
Julius,
as I conclude on that part, to say that there are means, there are mechanisms in place. We will talk, we will engage, we will appeal, because we believe that there is no subject that is beyond dialogue. But what I will ask and request, and what I will request of my friend Dr. Segunkuma, I also want, as you make your suggestions, present some solutions. Present some solutions, because the questions are many.
Okay.
The cynicism may be there.
I wanted to,
but I want us to.
Just a quick comment.
Let me give you a minute.
I'm very sympathetic, and I think Julius is doing a wonderful job. The job that is assigned to do is to tell us what is laid out in the Constitution, and that you're doing wonderfully. But I'm very sympathetic to you, because where the decision to deploy UPDF are taken, you are not there, and they'll never invite you to that, platform to discuss where we should deploy. With the decisions where the contract was given to supply Nkoni, you are not there. So it is okay. You're doing a good job by presenting us the position of the Electoral Commission and condemning the violence, that's the farthest you can go. And I'm telling you, you're not outside of the law. What you're doing is commendable. But what we are discussing, as I said at the very beginning, is slightly above what you can do.
Let's read some feedback here. Good evening, Timothy. Thank you for the show. Please ask the gentleman from the EC to explain the fate of the NUP National Unity Platform, especially on failing to campaign in districts like Elegu, failing to campaign in Fort Portal. In 5 districts, why haven't they done anything to ensure that that happens? Agaba in Chiruhura. Thank you very much, Agaba. This is quite lengthy. Good evening, Timothy. Thank you for the show. To the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, a concerned citizen from Amuria district, Martin. I am appalled by the ongoing violence and torture and tear gas of innocent Ugandans during peaceful activities. The Electoral Commission, as the custodian of the electoral laws and order, must take responsibility for the failure to maintain peace and protect citizens. Furthermore, the NRM members, I condemn the double standards within our party. We must acknowledge and condemn criminal acts committed by our own members against other people. Shifting blame to others does not help. Security agencies should apply the law equally regardless of the party affiliation. Let's hold justice, accountability, peace for all. Okay? Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Timothy. What causes the problems during his rallies? Bobby Wine keeps abusing the president and in all his campaigns, and yet he knows that he also has supporters who cannot allow their candidate to be abused. Because I see the president does not abuse him, so let Bobby stop abusing the president and let him speak to the manifesto that is presenting to the Ugandans. This is Andrew Opio. Thank you, Andrew. 2 more so that we call it an hour. Is the minister a spokesperson for police or the army? Let him tell us what technical or intelligence speaks to for security to disorganize a gathering. Crowds ready to listen to a candidate. We also have seen even worse behavior of the supporters of other candidates, and yet the army does not do anything about it and also escorts them. What is unique about Kyagulanyi? Lastly, thank you for the show. I am Zephaniah Obo from Tororo. To me, I think the NRM just lacks ground, and that's why they are against the opposition. That is not right. Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be discussing this and more.
Your way to Morocco with Uganda Cranes and MTN. Simply buy a Gaga bundle by dialing *100*0# and stand a chance to win a fully paid trip to Morocco. Gaga your way to Morocco with Uganda Cranes and MTN. Together, our fire is unstoppable. Fire! MTN. Terms and conditions apply. MTN Uganda is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
The government's mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project. That answers somebody's question.
The Front Bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport. If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji. your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back from that quick commercial break here on Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. In the studio, I'm joined by Dr. Sarah Birete, the Executive Director for Center for Constitutional Governance. I'm joined by the spokesperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, Julius Muchunguzi. I'm also joined by Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma, a researcher and a political analyst. I'm also joined by Honorable Dr. Mike Mukula, the chairperson of the Pan-African Movement in Uganda, the chapter here, and also the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, the Minister of State in charge of National Guidance and ICT. Two messages here, and then I'll get to Julius. Johnson, watching from Arua. First, what is the security agencies are doing? What the security agencies are doing to NUP is so shaming and is portraying a bad image for the president and the government. EC, the whole world is seeing you. I have two simple questions to the EC. How neutral are they in this electoral process? Secondly, why is government and security agencies so afraid to let them campaign? Okay. One more. Thank you, Timothy, for the show. Truth needs to be told that the citizens are gradually starting to accept the truth that this is a so-called election is a ceremony function done every 5 years rather than a democratic process done fairly on a ground that brings hope to the citizenry. The Honorable Minister is talking about supporters looting shops along the way. Was candidate Kyagulanyi amongst them, the looters? He has been succumbing to the torture above. This is someone, okay, you don't leave a name. Thank you very much for that. Julius, I want to touch something that happened and then be able to gravitate to something else. First and foremost, how many polling stations do we have? How many voters are going to be eligible to vote? And how does one get denominated?
So the number of polling stations today is over 50,000, 50,739.
It's actually 52,000.
50,000. And so that is, we have 21.6 million voters.
Yes.
21.6 million voters. And you know that the projections at the beginning in our strategic plan, the projection had been that from 2021 we had 38,000 polling stations. The projection was that there would be about 42,000 polling stations, but a number of reasons have during the reorganization of polling stations, more polling stations were created, and because now there's been a decision to make sure that during this general election we shall have the use of BVK machines, biometric verification voter machines, to make sure that voters at a polling station are able to go through the machine and be able to cast their ballots. The Commission took a decision to make sure that no polling station is more than 600 voters. And as a result, there were further splitting of polling stations, bringing them to the 50,000
Let's first stick to that one before we come to the other. Update of voters register was between Jan and February. You extended it by a week. You gave us a number between 200,000 and 300,000. And you gave us slightly above 38,000 of polling stations. Why a month to elections do we get something completely different?
No, it's not different.
And where did this data come from?
No, this is not different. You see, the update of the voters register is continuous. The update of the National Voters Register is continuous. And the first qualification of a voter is that you must be a citizen who is 18.
So that means if a young person turned 18 in June, is on the national vote.
So at the point of registration as a citizen, that person who indicated, one, that they would want to be voters, two, indicated where they would wish to vote from, at the turn of 18, there is a migration that happens. Because, as I said, the first qualification of a voter is that you must be a citizen. NIRA is responsible for registration of citizens. So the data of NIRA informs the people that become voters, because you must first be a citizen. So since 2020, when the last update of the voters register was done, there has been a gradual increase and a gradual addition to the national voters register. But the electoral laws state that before every general election, the commission shall designate a certain period for update of the national voters register. That is the window that you saw announced at the beginning of the year for update. But it did not mean that the only people that were being added on the national voters register were only those that updated during that period that was demarcated. That was.
Hold on, Julius, take us slowly. You said that the legal framework gives you a period of time.
Yes.
To be able to have that demarcation.
Yeah, that period of update of the voter register. Yes.
What legal framework are you using to transfer data from NIRA to be able to use it for voting?
Because you see, when you are registering as a citizen.
No, the legal framework, Julius. Because you have given us the legalities that this is the period for updating. And you have told us you transferred data from NIRA to be able to use it for voter verification.
Yes.
Getting the number from 18.1 by 3 million people.
Yes.
And under what legal framework is that?
No, but first of all, you've seen Article 59 defines how one becomes a voter. Citizenship. Okay? And who manages the data on citizenship? So if just see the logic, that the first qualification of a voter is that you must be a citizen.
So this was
the
logic
Electoral Commission,
and not legal.
So the Electoral Commission does not confer citizenship. You must first be confirmed as a citizen of Uganda by the institution established to confer and establish that citizenship. So when you have done that, then you are in the catchment area. Once you turn 18, you are in the catchment area of somebody that can become a voter. But for votability is a choice. You must indicate positively that you want to be a voter through registration or through indication that you want to be a voter. And when you do so, you also indicate where you would wish to vote from. And that is on the basis in the law, on the basis of where you reside or where you originate. So there is sufficient legal ground that facilitates the update of the voters register and the use of the data for purposes of establishing the votability of those who qualify.
Julius, the Justice Simon Biawakama was seated where the Honorable Minister is seated, and we were having this conversation during the voters update. And he categorically said that after that process, whoever became 18 would not undergo this process. Are you telling me the position changed within the issue?
No.
He was seated there.
No, that is a misrepresentation.
I wish that clip could be played.
Now, after the period of, you see, before that period that was announced for the update of the National Voters Register, there had been people, Ugandans, who turned 18, who were citizens, who had elected to be voters in their application for.
Okay, let's switch a bit.
So after the closure of the update exercise, people who turned 18 will definitely not be on the voters register because that window is provided for in the law. So the voters that we have on the National Voters Register are those that came through the continued update of the voters register, plus those that were registered during that window.
Okay. How does one get denominated? And also, the last time you and I had a conversation on phone, you told me you had more than 50 complaints. How have you dealt with them as the EC? Denomination and complaints.
No. So the electoral laws provide that during the period of nomination or after nominations, any registered voter in a constituency is at liberty to go to the returning officer and peruse the files, nomination forms of all people or any person that they are interested in who will have been nominated. On scrutiny, if any voter, anybody, it may not be a candidate, but any voter can, if they establish that there's something they see on the file, whether it is academic documents, whether it is signatures, whether it is any matter that they feel is inconsistent with the provision and requirements of the law, they are at liberty to petition or raise a complaint with the Electoral Commission.
How many have you discharged?
So the Commission has received, I want to take people through the process so that you see that the decisions are not about the denominations only. That the Commission has been handing out the decisions out of the tribunal process of listening and hearing petitions. In some cases, in a number of cases, it has said that so and so was denied nomination by our returning officer on review of the evidence presented. This person should have been nominated, and therefore we direct that he or she be nominated. There have been many decisions in that direction. There have also been decisions in the direction of saying, our returning officer, yes, nominated you. But now, on the basis of the petition and complaint presented, and on the basis of the evidence presented, you were nominated without fulfilling the requirements, and therefore, you were denominated.
Okay.
So the decisions have been two-way or three ways.
So the presidential candidates, as I come to Dr. Sarah, received a flash drive from you.
Yes.
With a digital register.
Yes.
That means 3 million people are missing on that digital register, right?
Why?
Because you declared the 3.1 way after nomination had happened of the presidential candidates.
No. At the nomination.
At nomination.
At the nomination, the law says, at the nominations, the law says that upon nomination, a presidential the Electoral Commission shall give a soft copy of the voters' register to the candidate.
You just declared the 21.6 2 weeks ago. But the nomination was
at nomination
2 months ago.
Was there a declaration at nomination?
Of what? Didn't you give them a flash drive that had...
We did. How many were they?
Voters were there?
18.1.
No.
Was it 21.6?
It was.
Let me come to Dr. Sarah. Doctor, this electoral process, we're now getting to know the number of voters, we're getting to know polling stations. There's also the Lord Justice coming out to say voters should leave the perimeter. The law says they should be there at least 20 meters away from the polling station. The Justice comes out and says some polling stations are at verandas of shops, not enough space. What do you make of this whole process?
I did say in my opening remarks that every other day Electoral Commission demonstrates incompetence. I could sound unfair to some people, but I want to substantiate. During elections in Gulu between Honorable Norbert Mao and Betty Bugombe, the army interfered with campaigns. Akabwai, then deputized by Aziz Kasuja, sent a warning and said, the army gets out or I cancel elections. The army did not get out. Aziz Kasuja was then the deputy of Akabwai, came on the ground, inspected, gave a report. Akabwai cancelled the elections because of army interference. When they reviewed reports, they decided to declare Honorable Norbert Mao duly elected. Another time in Urukunjiri, by then Aziz Kasuja was the chair, the army interfered with the elections at the beginning of reform agenda. Aziz Kasuja writes to the president, withdraw the army or I cancel elections. And the army was withdrawn. So when I say that this electoral commission is incompetent, we have seen electoral commissions that hold their ground without fear or favor and try to create a conducive environment for credible, free and fair elections. So when Gulu happens, Electoral Commission releases a statement. The next day, Fort Portal happens. Of what effect is your statement? And why should citizens read your statement? Gulu happens, and the Honorable Minister did say, we haven't analyzed the whole thing. He forgets that with technology, some of these things are streamed live as they happen, but is the Minister of ICT good enough? So during the live stream, at Bank of Uganda, as the Honorable Chagulanyi was entering Gulu town, is blocked by the police. And he says, he's on a highway. I am scheduled to campaign here, I'm proceeding to the campaign venue. Nobody heeds whatever he's saying. He gets out of the car, he's beaten. The beating, that's how the beating starts. When he attempted to walk, because he had been blocked. The sticks, the people who are injured, his campaign producer done magic, the head is bleeding. Even when he tried to board a motorcycle, the police officer removes the key of the motorcycle after he had boarded. So when you see there was chaos, and these were two vehicles moving to enter Gulu. So how should a candidate move to the campaign venue? Well enough, Electoral Commission releases a good statement. And then what? The next day, Fort Portal is blocked. The campaign doesn't even happen. Can you tell us when Chagulanyi will campaign in Eregu, in Fort Portal, in Churuhura, in Imbarara, where he has been blocked by them? What are the solutions? And of what effect is your statement? It is good, well enough, yes. And then what?
No, but Sarah.
I need to see results.
Sarah, are you suggesting, of course we don't agree, that we are...
I'm not here to agree with you.
No, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
But the Commission does not believe that we are at a point where we should be taking the direction of the example.
Stephen Akabwa and Aziz Kasuch.
Sure, because we believe.
Okay, of what effect is your statement? Let's go to the point.
We know that these statements, the value in the statements and their import depends on the actors that we are speaking to. We have not lost hope in the fact that the situation will get better. You want to sow...
I don't want to sow anything.
No, you want to sow...
Don't interpret my words. I've asked a question.
You have asked a question.
What effect are your statements?
You have asked a question.
Are they improving the electoral exercise?
You have asked a question with context. And I want to say...
And don't speculate on what I'm saying.
That we are not at a point where we should sow seeds of pessimism to Ugandans.
Okay.
Because we believe that since we have shown in the past that we can have a peaceful conduct, we are capable as a people to say these sins, we don't want them. We establish the root causes. Okay. We address the root causes, and we go to that default mode that we started with.
Allow Dr. Sarah finish her submission.
Yeah, just one other rejoinder is what the Honorable Minister said on theft, alleged theft of NUP supporters. Honorable Minister, when your candidate was coming to your party headquarters to pick nomination forms, the NRM ghetto structure caused havoc in town, including beating the former director of CID, Grace Akoro, with his son. They ended up in Morago. They raided everything that was breathing air on Kampala streets. What should we call them? They were escorting your candidate. And why didn't the army beat them and employ the same security measures? So having said that, you did ask a question on the election. As a citizen, as an observer, I've observed elections in more than 12 countries. For the record, I have never seen the army in countries where I go to observe elections. I spent 3.5 weeks in Ghana. Our headquarters, the election observers, was next to the army barracks. I even asked people, how does a Ghanaian soldier look like? I did not see any. The Kofi Annan Conference Center is next to the defense structure. But you could not see the soldiers anywhere. In Kenya, same thing. In Marawi. Like, what is wrong with us as a people? And when I mention the acts of Stephen Akabai and Aziz Kasuja, it's on record that Stephen Akabai was the best electoral administrator this country has ever had. We haven't seen any better person. They were applying the same laws that the Electoral Commission is using. No. Why are they incapable of restoring order in an electoral process? I have that frustration as a citizen and as an election observer.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, let me come to you. And I know you've seen the passion with which Dr. Sarah is speaking. But let me give a bit of things that happened. There was a run-in with the security forces, and a group of National Unity Platform people fell in a ditch. To today, we don't know the lady that fell in that ditch, if she's alive or dead. Secondly, there was an old lady that was beaten. Pictures were going around of her bleeding in Kawempe. There was also a gentleman who stoned a police officer. This also happened there. The police officer who was knocked by a border. Police knocking and tear gassing people in the crowds, pepper spraying them when they were close to them. But the one that bothers us the most, masked people, number plate-less cars, or number plates being folded. Honorable Minister, when you see this thing, as a national guidance minister, how do you create confidence and hope that the process we're having in January will be without anything else?
First of all, NRM ushered in democracy and allowed everybody to participate. They allowed NRM allowed everybody to participate. And this old adage of Dr. Yusuf that he can come to UBC and they can't reform, that's all a cake system. Now, first of all, nobody will even allow you to come to UBC. Nobody will allow you to reach even UBC, even if you came there. That one is all the thinking, and you should erase it from your head. And Chaguranyi has been in Kawempe, in Nakawa, just as you said, and there was nothing. He will even come. He will even come to Central here. He can even have a rally at Lugogo here, and nothing will happen. We're in charge of this security. So drop those ideas, first of all. Most of these things which have happened, they are under investigation. And that one I would like to assure you. Even the woman who fell in the ditch, all those are under what? Investigations. And there are some arrests, by the way, which have taken place. There are even arrests of police officers or army who have been arrested. And investigations are ongoing, and they are going to face disciplinary action. That one is true. These supporters who have stoned the police, some of them have also been what? Some of them have been arrested. The issue of masking, number plates, those are operational issues by security officers. You cannot tell a security officer how to dress up when he's going to arrest anybody. Not at all. Those are security tactics, and they can only be answered probably by security, and they tell us why that happened. There must be a reason why it happened. And I have told you, whenever they go for any operation, they have to make an assessment of the security situation, and therefore they even prescribe a method on how they are going to handle that particular operation. And they may not need to explain to everybody how they are going to handle it. But what we should all condemn as Ugandans is meting brutality to civilians. We should condemn it, and we condemn it in the highest degree possible, because we need a free and fair election. And I would like to assure you and the listeners, Timothy, that elections will be conducted leave alone whatever is happening in campaigns. It's only in 5 districts out of the 147 now that this has happened. But elections will go on and they will be concluded. These examples of Ghana, where Kenya also has had its own share of election violence. Tanzania has had its own share recently. You saw what happened. But so far,
even Malawi
has had its own share of election violence. So this is not limited to Uganda.
We were talking about the army.
There is wherever there is a competition, like this one, elections. You know, one side is saying, let us protect the gains. Another side is saying, protest the vote. How do you protest? So probably they are also preparing methods of provocation so that they protest. But what I'm saying, I'm calling upon all players to really be calm, and probably Electoral Commission to continue engaging them. Exactly. Just as the Honorable Mike Mukula has said, let us continue engaging and see where the problem is, so that we really try to limit excessive force. There should be reasonable force if there is any provocation. But
what does reasonable force look like? What's that proportionate like?
I don't think we need really to beat up people to bleeding level. But if the candidate has defied the orders of police by following the agreed route, block him. You block him, and he doesn't go beyond a certain limit. As simple as that. You don't need now to shoot on anybody because you have the capacity to do what? To block that.
Where is the mandate to block him? The EC
EC has said, look, this is the route. And you know, these people have agreed on specific routes. And some of these clashes have been due to defying the agreed position, and then you try to put in other routes. Sometimes not even the candidate himself. Sometimes the supporters. For instance, in Gulu, I was reading in Gulu what happened. He was supposed to approach from, I don't know which road, but then he approached from Kitugum Road. And the police said, no, this road, you are not supposed to pass here, you are supposed to pass there. And it caused a lot of problems. But you should know that at one time I came here and condemned the Chiruhura thing.
And yes. I remember that.
Yes, because
I don't want to get in this.
Because the Chiruhura thing, in my own assessment, why do you stone Chaguranyini Chiruhura? Whether you like it or not, Museveni will win in Chiruhura. Because that's his home. I don't need to now start fighting Honorable Chagulanyi for what? Greet him, greet the people, and he goes. And we condemned it here. Yes. We didn't see why people should start organizing them to throw stones. The other goons you are talking about, who caused mayhem here during the nomination, I think Honorable Mike Mukula was here in town, but most of them have been arrested. And some of them they have been arrested, and somehow some of them are not even NRM supporters. You're getting me? So in politics, there are so many dynamics. Some of them are not even known NRM supporters. Okay. But they were just given T-shirts to come and cause mayhem. And that one happened. But we are saying, let Electoral Commission call these stakeholders, all of them, including security, and tell them, you guys, this must stop. If there is any force, this force should go to this magnitude, but not to a point of even someone dying. Not at all. But you should remember, NRM ushered in democracy. and we are going to protect this democracy. Sarah might laugh and laugh, but there is a time where you couldn't even vote. I think Honorable Mike is old enough. I have seen these times where people couldn't even vote. In 1980, I was a young man, mature enough. I was in senior one, and I was UPM.
Were you 18?
Yes, yes. I
And
was
you didn't
18.
vote?
I'm a very old man, Sarah.
Okay.
But you know, in Kasese, for instance, the late Amoni Bazera, may his soul rest in peace, he couldn't allow people to vote in 2 constituencies. And the only constituency where there was voting, Dr. Chionga went through. It was a protest vote that, look, we are tired of this. But the late Amoni Bazera just said, constituency Kasese West and Kasese North, no voting. And the candidates were not nominated.
Thank you.
Leave alone denominating, but they were not allowed to do what? To be nominated. But all that has passed.
Honorable Captain Mike Mukula, you sat where you were when we finished the primaries of the NRM, and you said power is meant to be held by all means possible. And you said it will be done at all costs. Is this the cost we're seeing?
Before I answer your question, let me say, Baganda have a saying. My brother here is a good Muganda.
This one.
Munkoko enjoche tembulamu busirite. Meaning that if you put chicken on a stove where there is fire, there is bound to be an area which is overburnt.
That you eat everything.
But you eat chicken.
That the burnt and the unburnt, you eat everything.
You eat. You see, I have the late friend of mine, the late Raila Odinga, told me of a story when he was in Voi. He was in his area of campaigns, and he was talking to the people. Then these goons entered with Maasais, dressed like Maasais, with sticks, and they beat him to a pulp. In fact, he had was badly injured at one point. He showed me the scar. I want to tell you, he went back to town, and he went and remobilized his own people, and also got sticks and a number of other things. Went and attacked the goons also. So I want to tell you that the journey of democracy in the African continent has been a very difficult one. And those of us who have seen a lot will always pray and urge for the perfection of democracy. Look at the style of campaigns. And I don't want to say that this is a 2-horse race. This is an 8-horse race. And that's what the Electoral Commission has been able to provision itself on, based on the fact that they have the laws that regulate them from Article 60 to Article 68 of the Constitution of Uganda. That provision gives them the power and the energy to regulate Article 1, many other functions, because the Constitution is by nature infectious. I want therefore to tell you one very important thing in answering your question. Power is for keeping. Acheveli will tell you that. And that power, and any other government, you have seen the Republicans and the Democrats in the United States.
Honorable,
250
kept
years.
At what cost? What should be the cost? What is the minimum cost for keeping power?
Well,
because at this point it's Ugandan lives.
Well, let me tell you one thing. You have never managed power. And power is a very fluid and highly difficult instrument to keep. It may look easy from the outside. It's like those who are playing football. When you're a spectator outside, it is easy for you to say Ronaldo could have done better. But let's give you a jersey and you get in there. And see for yourself how the spectators here who are watching will start throwing bottles at you. The point I'm trying to tell you is that despite the challenges, the 40 years of governance, and where we, under the new provision of the new constitutional order, which was a function and was midwifed by all sorts of brains, a galaxy of brains, some of the most brilliant people this country has ever had. Those who have seen Uganda pre-1962 and post-independence. The point I'm trying to tell you is that, and I always tell people this, by 1962, we had only 103 graduates, university graduates in Uganda. Only 2 at independence had master's degrees. I'm seated one who has got a PhD. What I'm telling you now is that at that time, Uganda's population was close to 6.4 million people. We are now heading towards 6 million people. When you look at the demographics, Uganda is the second youngest nation in the world. Now, to answer your questions, the point I'm trying to get to you.
If you're making comparisons,
yes,
help us make comparisons between 2021 and 2026. When you go to independence in 1986, the people that Yusuf talked about have no understanding. So let's put it in context of measuring 2 elections cycles that are within reach.
You can never weigh each election at the same level or compare elections the same way. I want to tell you that I fly airplane. I've been flying airplanes. I've been a captain for a long time. I've flown, and there is no single flight which is the same with the other. You can make 70,000 landings, and they will all be different. Do not compare apples and tomatoes. The point I'm trying to tell you, and let's get this in context. The elections of 2021 had different, it had a different environment. You had COVID-19. The elections of 2021 had a new party, which was the youngest party the country has ever had moved. It had gained a balloon. It had different perception. The young people saw this young man who had come into the elections. And here was NRM defending the status quo. And at that time, it was decided, because of the rules of engagement at that time, especially by the president, that with the guidance of security, no campaign should be conducted in order to save the lives of people. And rightfully, many Ugandans were saved from that election. I personally participated in the election. The point I'm trying to tell you is that this election now we have had, and if you look at the style of engagement, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, under the National Resistance Movement, holds elections in each district in one venue. When you look at NUP and the other 8 candidates, they have a lot of side shows. I think where you are having problems, and that's why the rules of engagement are very important, is that there is an entourage that accompanies NUP candidate wherever he goes. People who go with motorcycles, who they have their own way of engagement. Now, whereas you look at the other side, all the other candidates, they're a little calmer. I think the most important thing, and again come back to the Electoral Commission, how does the Electoral Commission take this as a learning curve, but also call into order those who are going against the rules of engagement? Because as he said, as a spokesman of the Electoral Commission, when you go in and start playing football and you fail to regulate the players who are engaged in football, fail to raise a red card, fail to raise a yellow card, fail to caution, then there is a problem. And that's why I want to say that I think where there are 2 elephants that engage, the grass suffers. I think it is important at this time for us to go back and say, maybe did we carry out enough civic education? How did we engage the youth? What is causing this volatility among the youth? And what we need in order to come out with a more profoundly effective campaign? How do we re-engage the actors? Because it's also important that you note that the Electoral Commission has got in each party an agent. How does the Electoral Commission call that agent and say you are people and making mistakes? How does that engage? And finally, how do you deal with the security apparatus of this country? Because nobody is above the law.
Yusuf, let me come to you. I was reading a report by Afrobarometer. naming the 2021 elections as the most violent. But in this election, we have seen dogs. So let me come to my question. With this whole, let's put the players aside, let's put the Electoral Commission aside, these young people that are coming to these rallies, what are they saying? What are we missing from their message? Because it could be a determinant of what happens next.
Timothy, Mike Mukula has this saying that boyoche nyama tembula mbusiridde. Munkoko enjoche. So what they do, they just kusiriza everything. So that others cannot. And
that is your interpretation.
I'm telling you.
Do not misinterpret.
No. So that's how that thing should have ended, but he didn't cook. Timothy, something bothers me every time we come to these conversations, and listening to people that sort of represent the government position. You know, we have reduced politics, the actual business of discussing the control of the way in which we manage human and natural resources in a polity, to something they call real politic. Real politic is devising tricks to win an argument, is to obfuscate an argument, is to confuse the other person. You don't have a genuine, honest debate where people are serious. It's to come up with trivialities. It's to make random comparisons. It's to make sure their matter appears so technical when you're actually dealing with a clear-cut political issue, right? I listen to you ask very precise questions about the army doing this happening. And then, you know, the people on the other side, they have these sort of imaginative ways of coming up with pivots. They direct you, tactfully direct you somewhere else so that you somehow miss the point. They draw comparisons to, then they bring in Sudan, they'll bring in Tanzania, they'll tell you about the US. But you're asking a precise question. And then they tell you, you know, their supporters, they're sort of, they have side shows, but that's the job of the Commission to say, NUP, we are calling it order because you're doing so many side shows. But the Electoral Commission is not doing that. The army is moving in, not on the direction of the,
But is it even side shows? They
the army
people
just moves
before
in.
they arrive.
And you see that the man who is speaking for the Electoral Commission is saying these things are regrettable. And then these ones will tell you, because they have side shows, and then but it's just a matter of the laws are being turned upside down. You see, the man here who is in charge of supervision will tell you, will call NUP to order. He will ask the security just to move in because there's something. But no, it doesn't work like that. They move in and we ask this man to explain. You see, that's why I really pity this man. He's trying his best, you see, to explain these things. But the point I'm trying to say is that there's something missing in our politics when everything's about, confusing, obfuscation, random comparisons, and you ask a clear-cut question, nobody wants to speak to it. You see,
but I wanted you to give some solutions, because I want you to give us some solutions. What should we do?
I don't think you're ready for my solutions.
No, please.
I don't think you're ready for them.
No,
please.
But through you,
Timothy,
Mr. Chairman.
Part of a political discourse is diagnosing our problem right. The last line of treatment is diagnosis. If you don't get the diagnosis right, then whatever prescription you'll make will be wasting time. You'll be killing the patient through medication. The first line of treatment is we need to diagnose our condition precisely. We are not a democracy, and we are not trying to build one. That should be understood. That, Mr. Mchunguzi, the job you're doing is a job you're doing wonderfully, but it's part of the facade of an electoral process, which is part of, keeping somebody in power, pretending, masquerading as a Democrat, right? But as we do that, we should be honest people's lives. Because I don't mind the 400, how much did you get this time? 456 billion you're borrowing to pull off this circus? That's okay.
That's supplementary.
But going to them,
Yes.
No, going to the process.
Yeah, I don't mean
the
you.
electoral commission.
Going to the process of ensuring that Ugandans have
But Timothy,
an election.
we're talking about people's lives, you know, people's lives. So far, we've recorded 2 deaths already in this supposedly peaceful process. 2021, by government own admission, they killed 56 people in the city of Kampala. By their own admission, we don't have a report on that. No arrests have been made. Nothing happened. We just know they killed 56 by their own admission, and Museveni stayed in power. And we're going through this process, and I'm telling you, it's not over as yet, because the closer we get to the finishing line, the more violent it becomes. Right, we're moving there, but they're people's lives. That's what bothers me, that we reduce our conversion to real politics. How do I obfuscate the laws being broken when you're having this sort of national conversation? How do I say, you know, you look at Tanzania, they've just gone through the something, you know, and you look at America, even America, peacekeepers show up with masks. They say things like that. Oh. But we're playing with people's lives here, and we know what it really means in real terms, right? So if the project is to keep the president in power, we have to be honest about it and say, this is how we do it. Because you see, Mr. Mchenguzi, at some point, there's going to be death at a large scale, and you'll be called here to explain.
Can we prevent that?
If you implement
I'm giving you a diagnosis. Sarah spoke so eloquently about presidents in the job you occupy, that there were men who I don't think they're really strong, but at least they demonstrate strength by calling the man on top to say, you either take the military from the thing or we call it off. So they are honest to say, you have actually asked us to do a job for you, to organize an election for you. But you're making us look like idiots. If you can take the military out from the thing, we'll continue with it. But if you don't, we'll withdraw. At least those men were honest to say, we are doing your job. You're the almighty. You're in charge of this country. But if you make us look like stupid people by, you know, presiding over a thing that you all of us interfere with the military men, we can't carry on with it. It's simple. You can actually do that. At least have a record to say, we called the commander-in-chief to say, please withdraw forces from this entire process. At least have it on the record. I know he will not implement it. I can guarantee you that. He will not. He will not withdraw them. And you will not call off the election. No, he will not withdraw the military and you will not call off the election. But at least give us a record of where, that we are nicer to you when you appear on shows with us. We know this man has actually put a statement on the. You want to say something?
Lastly, Yusuf.
No, he wants to say something.
Okay.
No, I want to say that the engagement the commission is having with the parties,
with the candidates,
and the agents, and security, police, we believe is in the right direction.
Are they working?
And yes, they are.
In fact, what I could say to add to what he's trying to put across, multi-party politics by nature is divisive, by nature, confrontational, anywhere in the world. And I want to put it on record. It's like football. You have seen some of the games in some of the Super League, even in Europe. Teams clashing and fighting, even outside their own countries. The point I'm trying to tell you that, you see, the principles of individual merit, in my own personal view, seem to benefit Africa more. Until and when we mature and we have the ability and the mindset, a paradigm shift, a mindset change, to be able to adapt this imposition of our colonial masters, who said, if you are to get independence, this, falling back to Lancaster, 1958, if you are going to go forward, this is the way you're going to go. But from principle one, the same people who introduced it in 1958 are the ones who brought Kabaka Yeka and UPC to form a government, which 1 year after collapsed.
But Honorable Captain, just a second,
I allowed
Honorable Captain Mike Mukula, for how long are you going to blame colonialists for things we can change by ourselves? Because he has guidelines, and you've made a metaphor of football, that they'll give you a yellow card or a red card, that even when you impede someone on the pitch, there can still be repercussions when you get out. You're suspended. But we are not seeing any order being formed by the EC.
No.
Hold on, Julius, because I have sat with both the agents that represent the NRM and the NUP, and we are glossing over this issue, and yet Ugandan lives are being taken over. So, are you waiting for something worse to happen so that we can respond to it?
Not at all. Not at all. The outcomes of these engagements, these dialogues, these meetings are bearing fruit. In some cases, actors must commit to walk the talk, okay? But we cannot give up on engagement because we've seen results. Obviously, these other incidents, like the one that we have seen in Fort Portal, again, no one planned for that.
Julius, sorry. After
so what fruits are you realizing?
But we've seen we've seen better conduct. We want even much better conduct.
If I may ask, maybe it would be better to tell viewers, when was the last time you had this dialogue? What are the positive results? What are the negative results?
So when the first incident happened, one of the first incidents happened, the commission called the actors. That was the Iganga incident. Because this has been a successive, we have had a successive series of engagements. Some of them are structured, others are one-on-ones, others are planned. And when the first meeting happened, we saw a return to calm. And then there was another episode. Again, we did not time to say this is unacceptable, this must not happen again. Then we had a semblance of compliance. And then we had another episode. But you see, you are suggesting that giving up should be an option.
I think, Julius, you've not answered my question. When was the last time you held this dialogue?
And indeed, that's why we stated in the last statement that it was what made it even more unfortunate, if there is a word like that, was that this was coming a few days after the meeting.
Yes. So
and that is why, and now, the next engagement will definitely be taking stock of how could this be? Okay?
Timothy, it gets worse.
I want to prepare this man.
Yes.
I'm preparing.
Lastly,
he's preparing me that more that I'm going to come here.
Yes, because it's getting worse.
As they say now Mike Mukla introduced Logan to this show. Tewe madam, we recruit him because Mo is coming. You don't overexhaust your energies. Okay. Let me tell you, let me finish. Don't Yusuf, say please. These things are bearing fruits because I'm telling you,
there is no fruit.
Much more is coming to your doorsteps.
We refuse to be held hostage to pessimism.
But I'm telling you, Timothy, I need to finish a point.
Please finish your point. Julius, please allow him to finish.
But I responded.
Allow him to conclude without a solution.
Okay.
Julius, you see there's a lab, there's a guy in the lab, and there's a doctor. So I see myself as a guy in the lab. I am doing the lab test and giving you
the results.
The illness you're facing. And the prescription is about everybody in this country. But I should tell you, we don't have a shortage of prescription. I'm telling you, the people you see here don't know what has to be done to better this country. I don't think they don't know. They're just pretending. They know. So I said the problem is to reduce actual politics, to real politics, to kodio, to kubuza. So I'm telling you, they know what should be done. I'm telling you, they don't know. So there's not a shortage of good opinion on what should be done. No, that's what I said.
Yes.
That
Doctor, don't you think that
here
is a figment of your own fertile imagination?
No, you know what has to be done. I'm telling you, this man here is very well credentialed. If he wasn't under hostage of a leadership.
Yusuf, we need to conclude.
Okay, I will conclude on this one. I want to tell Honorable the Minister that when Bashir fell, I was telling you about the fear that Museveni has. That's why he's more violent than ever before. I want to use more Uganda proverbs because it's not a Uganda show. That when Bashir fell, the last election he held, he won it by 94%. And then 3 years later, he was being chased like a chicken thief.
Okay. Let me read some feedback that has come through.
Honorable. It's not fiction.
Someone says,
what the man
Timothy,
says.
thank you for the show. The elections are a sideshow as a result of narrow space for opposition, and after each election cycle, if the ground was leveled for all parties, all campaigns would be like the NRM campaigns. This is Robert in Gulu. Okay, thank you, Robert. Captain Mike Mukula should know that President Museveni's security has clear people for security reasons before he arrives on the chopper. If he was to come by road, that alone would attract crowds. So the incumbent, naturally, His Excellency, makes his security detail to clear his supporters before he arrives. So EC needs to take into account. Let the EC provide NUP with the chopper and see if the crowds will be there. This is Dr. Julius Othieno from Toro. Thank you, Dr. Julius. He gives that solution to bring a chopper. Timothy, thank you for the show.
That's
Neither the
idea.
EC nor the men in the studio have anything to help Ugandans have a free and fair election. Yusuf has a point. I see the communism knocking at the door of Uganda and its doom. I personally do not see value in ejecting of high officers. Resort to LC5, LC3, LC2, LC1, who live with us and do life with us. I have witnessed with my naked eyes that happened in Gulu and shredded. This is Kasamba from Gulu, writes in a very lengthy one. Lastly, Timothy, thank you for the show, but I am utterly disappointed with the NRM. He has brought no value to the debate. Really, what is this? Wilfred from Buikwe. And finally, to the EC, if the supporters start picking up sticks and also beating the security, after feeling the pain from when they were there, yet everyone has a stick, what will happen? Who will enjoy this? At what point are Ugandans going to stop being beaten like cows? The EC should do something and start biting, or else let them stop lamenting. Okay? Thank you for the many messages. I'll give parting shots. I'll start with Dr. Julius, Yusuf, Honorable Captain Mike Mukula, and lastly, the Honorable Minister. 2 minutes each.
I think we need to respect the democratic citizenship of Ugandans. Honorable Minister talked about 1980 when he couldn't vote. I don't know whether, Honorable, you are aware that in 2016 in Kampala people couldn't vote. In Kampala Wakso, because the Electoral Commission delivered materials at 2, and they gave the biggest population, voter populations only 2 hours to vote, and many people did not vote. In this election, unfortunately, I am aware of a women observer group that had applied to observe elections in Kampala and Wakso, and they were told to remove those districts. I hope Electoral Commission is not planning a repeat of 2016, because why would you block observers from observing elections in Kampala and Wakso? We deserve a credible election as prescribed in the Constitution.
Thank you. Julius, over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, we would like to say from the Electoral Commission that we Ugandans are capable of having free, fair, transparent, credible, and peaceful elections. The Electoral Commission is committed to discharge its constitutional mandate and responsibility of organizing and supervising these elections. The Commission calls on all stakeholders and says that we are in this together. That if we all the stakeholders, respect the law, act peacefully, respect one another or each other, if every stakeholder does not use language that sows hatred and sectarianism based on religion, region, and whatever, if we use digital platforms not to spread fake news, disinformation, and misinformation, and if we take into account the fact that this is not the first election, this won't be the last election, okay, that Uganda We found Uganda. Elections are coming. Elections will go. We must make sure that we do not do anything that undermines the integrity of this country, the unity of this country, the peaceful nature of this country, and the progress of this country. We should let elections, we should use the processes of elections be as they should, the mechanism through which Ugandans choose their leaders as the Constitution has provided.
I'm going to cut out that bite. We shall use it for voter education.
I wanted to ask who was he talking to? The citizenry or UPDF? Because he has to be clear. Because you guys know what to do. You know, Timothy, I think there's a quest for seriousness in this country. I'll say one more time. We're looking at Sudan. The more we obfuscate, the more we cut corners. We're looking at. We need to be serious. I'm telling you, the Baganda say, Mike Mukul, introduce this.
Because now you're going back to
you see, once you push people to the wall, when the colonized understood that the colonizer, the only language the colonizer understood was violence, they responded with violence. You see, there could be this confidence that, you know, Ugandans have been emasculated enough. You know, you've bribed them, you've threatened them, you've thrown them in jail, so they can't do anything. But at that weirdest, darkest hour, they will decide to push back. And they will speak back in the language that the system understands. If you teach them that the only language we understand is violence, they will respond in that language. And all of us, when this house catches fire, all of us will burn. Honorable Minister, nobody is safe from a burning house. All of us will burn. You want to push people against the wall, and they understand the language you speak is violence. They respond in that language.
Okay.
And we will all burn.
Thank you, Yusuf. Honorable Captain Mike Mukula, your parting shot.
I pick from where my brother doctor left it, violence. And I want to tell you that I participated in the recovery of bodies on River Kasensiro in Rakai. I also went to Byumba. And in one of the homesteads I went to, I saw a mother behind in the plantation, banana plantation. And we had a baby saying, noise of a child. And she was holding on to the breast of her mother, who was long gone. And in Kasensiro, when I went with the Cardinal Wamala, who is in Zambia now, very good friend of mine, we drove in my vehicle to a Bronco American car, two of us, to Kasensiro, to pray for these bodies that were floating from Rwanda. Let me tell you, one of the bodies that was being hooked out from the river was a woman who had a child in her back. And she died clutching, her hands clutching onto the baby. Both of them long gone, and the skin pigment was like the meat you see in a butcher. All this had been taken off by the water. What am I saying? The Cardinal Wamala, wonderful man, heading towards 100 years, screamed and said, Bikira Maria tuyambe. Why am I saying this? The people who are playing with the fire of violence to say the house will catch fire do not know what violence is. And I want to say this with a very painful heart. I see people say, tujja kuzaya Banyarwanda, tujja kutta abantu, tujja kukola ki. This is a very dangerous path you are pursuing. To midwife democracy and get what you call fine democracy in the African continent has been through sweat and blood in some countries. I really want to urge the actors to avoid sectarianism, religious bigotry, and these reckless statements, both social media and otherwise. My urge is that democracy is only a means of governance.
Okay.
But let's allow our people, let's allow Uganda, let's allow a peaceful environment in this country. And I make this appeal to everybody who is listening.
Thank you very much. Lastly, the Honorable Minister.
First of all, to Dr. Yusuf, when you say Ugandans are going to gang up and NRM has also people. And NRM has more supporters than the opposition. That's why President Museveni always wins. The opposition which you are proud of couldn't even raise candidates in some of the constituencies. Couldn't.
That's true.
So if you think the Ugandans are only probably opposition supporters, that one is totally a lie.
I'm not even proud of the
Exactly.
opposition.
And this issue of always thinking people will rise, bringing Bashir, those Bashirs, it was a different environment.
But they rose in 1980.
Yes, it was a totally a different environment. And I would like to assure you, Yusuf, that Bashir scenario will not come here. Because we are prepared.
I pray it doesn't come too.
Yes, yes.
No,
it seems that's what you are praying for. But
no, I'm preparing.
Let me tell you, that prayer of yours,
warning the players.
That prayer of yours is in vain. And we are prepared as NRM to assure we safeguard the people. Wait for elections, go for them. You lose, wait for another 5 years. As simple as that. And for us, President Museveni is our candidate, and we are going to support him, and we are very optimistic he's going to do what?
Honorable, we didn't fair, let the others lose fair.
Yes, yes. We have told you there are some irregularities which I have already said Electoral Commission needs to sit, bring all stakeholders, and we sort them out. But this issue of always threatening people, you know, Ugandans are going to raise. Are you the only Ugandans? Is opposition the only party with Ugandans? NRM has Ugandans. You have seen crowds welcoming Museveni. You have seen crowds also welcoming Bobi Wine. So instead of looking for a way how we can live together in this Uganda
business
peacefully.
Of beating Ugandans, this business of beating Ugandans, breaking their skulls.
You think police is being beaten? Isn't the police also Ugandans? Do you know that there are some opposition members who are beating police?
Yusuf and the Honorable Minister,
we are not going to accept those threats, Yusuf. And I would like to tell you, we are ready.
And I would like to make it thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies. I would like to make it categorically clear. We have one country.
Yes.
And we cannot set it ablaze.
Yes.
Elections will come and go.
Yes.
But go out there, use your mandate to vote the right people according to the values and the standards that you feel they represent you. Here at UBC Behind the Headlines, we support non-violent elections, and everyone has the freedom to go and vote. So, Julius, I hope you'll be back, because at some point we'll discuss those biometric machines and how they are doing. But we'll end... President,
Yes.
I have got you committed already. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you.
He has to be here much more, I'm telling you. So
thank you, Honorable Mukula. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for coming through. The technical team that has made today possible, thank you very much for making today possible. For you who has been watching both online and sent messages, we really appreciate that. We'll end with this quote: our lives will begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. This election matters, but this country matters more. Good morning.